one of the homework problems, homework problem number 10. And especially since it's even, you don't get the answer in the back. And this one, I thought would be a good idea to show this video. This is a little bit more involved than some of the others. So here we have the function f of x equals the square root of 2x minus 2 over x minus 2. When a equals 2 and epsilon equals 2, we're going to use an epsilon of 0.01. Okay, so this is like boilerplate. We use this on all the problems. For all epsilon greater than 0, there exists a delta greater than 0, and a and x are elements of our domain. Later on, you can use domain, or sometimes we can use all real numbers, but right now we're using domain, such that our function, our absolute value of f of x minus f of a is less than epsilon whenever our absolute value of our difference of x minus a and is less than delta. So we're trying to find our delta here. So the first thing we're going to do is simplify our function f of x. So here we have square root of 2x. So we're going to make that 2x. We're going to change that to an exponent. 2x to the 1/2 minus 2 over x minus 2. Now the idea here is to make this into a difference of two squares. So we can go ahead and make this 2 to the 1/2 x to the 1/2. X to the 1/2, since we're multiplying, those two are multiplied, 2 and x are multiplying, minus, and then this is 2 to the first power. So what we want to do is we want to make that 2 to the 2 over 2 power. Okay, so, and that's all over x minus 2. Okay, so continuing on with that, I'm just going to bring this 2 to the 1/2 over x to the 1/2, and then I'm going to take this 2 to the 2/2 and split it. So that'll be 2 to the 1/2 parentheses squared. And the idea here is that we're going to factor out this 2 to the 1/2 over x minus 2. Okay, so from here, I'm just going to work with the numerator first, and I'll work with the denominator after that. So we're going to factor out this 2 to the 1/2. Since this is 2 to the 1/2 squared, this is 2 to the 1/2 times 2 to the 1/2. So that gives us 2 to the 1/2 is factored out, and that leaves us with x to the 1/2 minus, since this is 2 to the 1/2 times 2 to the 1/2, we're still going to have a 2 to the 1/2 left over x minus 2. So what we want to do here is we want to get this x minus 2 to be something like this, make it a difference of two squares, and then factor it. So what we can do here with this denominator is we can say, all right, well, this is x to the, this is the same thing as if we said x to the 2 over 2, because that's 1. And this is 2 to the first, so that's 2 over 2. So that's going to be, so 2 to the 1/2, that's the same thing as the square root of 2 times x to the 1/2, that's the same thing as the square root of x minus 2 to the 1/2, that's the same thing as the square root of 2. Okay, so this is going to be x to the 1/2 parentheses squared minus 2 to the 1/2 parentheses squared, because we split the 2 over 2, the 1/2 times 2 is like that. So that's going to give us the square root of 2 times the square root of x minus the square root of 2 over, so this x to the 1/2, that's the square root of x quantity squared. And then this 2, this is the square root of 2 quantity squared. So really what we have here is a difference of two squares, where we have x squared minus y squared equals 2x minus y times x plus y. So we can make these into a difference of two squares. We can make these two a difference of two squares, and then we can cancel some things out. So this will be the square root of 2 times the square root of x minus the square root of 2 over, so these two get factored out, square root of x minus the square root of 2 times the square root of x plus the square root of 2. And from here, the square root of x minus 2's can cancel. So we're left with f of x simplified as the square root of 2 over the square root of x plus 2, square root of 2. Okay, so that means f of a is equal to the square root of 2 over the square root of a plus the square root of 2. So we're going to go ahead and find what f of a is. Since a equals to, we said 2, we can put in here f of 2 equals to square root of 2 over square root of 2 plus the square root of 2 equals the square root of 2 over 2 square root 2. Well, the square root of 2's, those can cancel. And so square root of 2 goes in square root of 2 once, and so we end up with 1/2. So we're saying here that f of a equals to 1/2. All right, so now we can use that here. Instead of putting that in a whole equation in there, we can just put 1/2 in. And so it really doesn't matter where you put the f of a in, whether you put it in here in the absolute value or find that out first. With this particular problem, because it's so much more involved, it's better to do it first and then plug it in. So we're going to erase this. And we can say that we know that f of x simplifies out to the square root of 2 over square root of x plus the square root of 2, and f of a equals to 1/2. All right, so from here, we're ready to plug in our f of x, these f of x into here, and f of a into there, and 0.01 into epsilon. So this will be, so technically with this, because the reason why we split it is because with f of x minus f of a, when it's an absolute value like that, it's less than epsilon. When you do away with the absolute values, we have f of x minus f of a is less than positive epsilon, but it's greater than a negative epsilon. So that's why we're constantly looking for, in this case, this will be 0.01 and this will be negative 0.01. That's why we have to do both. Okay, so so let's back up here. So we're going to put in, that's going to be the square root, give myself more room here, square root of 2 over the square root of x plus the square root of 2 minus f of a, which we said is 1/2, and that's less than epsilon, which we said was 0.01. Okay, well, we need a common denominator, right? So we have to multiply square root of x plus the square root of 2 over the square root of x plus the square root of 2. And here we have to multiply 2 over 2 to get a common denominator. So this will be 2 square root 2 over 2 times the square root of x plus the square root of 2. And then from here, that'll be minus parentheses square root of x plus the square root of 2, close that, over 2 times square root of x plus the square root of 2. And that's equal to 0.01. Okay, so we can combine this all into one denominator and distribute this negative. So that'll be 2 square root 2 minus the square root of x minus the square root of 2. And that's all over common denominator of 2 parentheses square root of x plus the square root of 2. Now notice I didn't distribute this denominator yet because I wanted to see if I can cancel 0.01. So after I simplify the numerator, so this will be 2. So 2 square root 2 and 1 square root 2 is just 1 square root 2 minus the square root of x over 2 times the square root of x plus the square root of 2. And that equals to 0.01. All right, so from here, we can go ahead, we want to multiply out the denominator. So we want to get rid of that 2, so we're going to multiply 2 to both sides. Multiply 2 to both sides. And so that gives us square root of 2 minus the square root of x over square root of x. And actually, I want to give myself some room here. Square root of 2 minus the square root of x over square root of x plus the square root of 2 equals to 2 times 0.01 is 0.02. Okay, so from here, we're going to go ahead and multiply the denominator. We want to multiply out this denominator. So the square root of x plus square root of 2, multiply that to both sides. And so that'll be square root of x plus the square root of 2. Okay, so this cancels here, and we end up with the square root of 2 minus the square root of x is equal to, and then we can distribute 0.02 square root of x plus 0.02 square root 2. And so from here, we want to go ahead and combine like terms. So we can go ahead and apply plus 1x here, plus the square root of x plus 1.00 square root of x. And so when we do that, bring it up here, we get the square root of 2 minus, now the square root of x was added over to the other side. So this becomes 1.02 square root x plus 0.02 square root 2. Okay, so now we want to subtract the 0.02 square root 2 to both sides minus 0.02 square root 2. So this is like saying 1.00 here. So 1.00, so that'll be a 0.98 square root 2. Give myself some room here. 0.98 square root 2 equals to 1.02 square root x. So I can give myself some more room here. So I'm going to move this over, so I've got the 0.98 square root 2 is equal to 1.02 square root x. Okay, so now we can divide 1.02 to both sides, and we get the square root of x equals to 1.04. So we want to go ahead and square both sides. So 1.04 squared is 1.08329. So we'll say 1.083 equals to x. So we want to do the same thing with negative 0.1. Well, since instead of doing all this again, we know that all this simplifies down to here. So instead of going back and doing all this again, we just start from here. Since we took these two, found the common denominator, and simplified, and we got to here. So now we take that part and just set it equal to 0.0 negative 1. Okay, so that'll be square root of 2 minus the square root of x over 2 parentheses square root of x plus the square root of 2 equals to a negative 0.01. So now you're going to go ahead and multiply out the denominator and solve for x. Okay, and